So we should be going live across different streams at the moment. Okay. It's throwing me some errors.
Classic.
Good stuff. And it looks like we might not be live in the Spain group, which is the most important one.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's the biggest one. So and it says the stream is live. Let me have a look in Facebook and see if we are live there or not. Because that's a bit frustrating if we're not in Spain. We're definitely live in UK. So yeah, it seems like we're not live in Spain, which is very frustrating. Nice one, StreamYard. Thank you very much for that. So hello, viewers from the UK, and it could be that in the Spain group, we're just going to share this one later. And I'll see if I can actually share the event directly into the Spain group. That might be the easiest thing to do, because the event is definitely happening. Yeah, I will share the recording afterwards. That's probably the easiest thing, because we know we're live in some destinations.
Mm-hmm.
Others benefit of treating this as evergreen content. They get to enjoy.
That's why you always record your stream.
Absolutely. Yeah. So let's get started. Anyway, Ben, thank you very much for joining us in Remote Work Europe, wherever we are live, which should be on LinkedIn and Facebook destinations, maybe YouTube, coming at you from all over. And just for anybody who does end up joining us later, greetings to you watching the recording. And don't worry, for anybody coming in halfway through, this will all be recorded. It will be available on remoteworkeurope.eu afterwards. So the reason I wanted to talk to Ben was about software, because I've got a confession to make. This time of year, I've ended up spending money. Inbox last week was full of all these amazing deals, upgrade to annual,
Mm-hmm.
even more. I'm a little bit worried about future me in 12 months' time when all these renewals come around. And of course, it's really tempting, because there are so many amazing things that we can do with software today. But if only there was one software that did everything that we needed it to do. And obviously, I'm not the only person who's had this burning desire, because Ben has been building it with freelancers in mind. This is basically, I came across Full Scope Freelancer and thought, where was this 5 years ago when I was getting started? Because this is all the things you need right out of the box. So Ben, tell us about your journey, please, and what led you to create Full Scope Freelancer, and what problem is it solving for everybody?
Sure, yeah. Well, thanks again for having me. It's a pleasure to be here to chat with you and the remote work audience. I'm a big fan of the remote work movement, and think it's enabling a lot of people to do a lot of great things and make a lot of great personal choices for themselves and their families. So I can only stand behind it and everyone who supports it. Yeah, so basically, I have started a company called Full Scope Freelancer, and our slogan is that we are an all-in-one freelance business tool. And the genesis of the company, the idea and how it came about, is essentially because I myself was a freelancer. I spent about 15 years freelancing in the audio industry. I was a musician, I was a composer, I did sound design for films and media and video games. And I don't think there's a job in the audio industry that I did not do at some point. So I had my hands in many, many cookie jars. And the more I learned about, kind of conducting myself as a business, about running myself and my services as a business, the more I noticed how I wished I had, this tool and that tool. Or like, oh, wouldn't it be great to start doing email campaigns? Or, oh, I wish I had a social media management tool. And, the more I learned, the more I grew, the more I was kind of collecting subscriptions to all these tools like Pokemon cards. And at some point, I just realized I had so many of them that I occasionally would just forget that they even existed until I looked at my credit card statements. Oh gosh, that's right. I'm paying
Yeah.
for, this tool X or tool Y. And it was just a little absurd. And I spent a long time trying to get by with like the free versions of different softwares, or starting off with one software and then realizing I wish I had a different one. And so all of these kinds of issues that come across a lot of people's desks, I would say, especially who are kind of freelancing or basically doing self-employed type of work, who have to run their entire business by themselves or with minimal support. I just was pulling my hair out trying to deal with it all. And then I came across an opportunity to scratch my own itch and essentially create the type of software that I wish I had. And my entire goal with it was not to create another software that is and solving all types of problems, but it's really only for enterprise businesses and for we have 250 employees or more type of software. I wanted something that was specifically for someone like myself who's running their own business, who's doing their own thing, doesn't have a $1 million budget to throw at problems and different software solutions. And so that's essentially how we got started.
Excellent. Okay. And so what is inside of Full Scope Freelancer right now?
Oh gosh, it's gonna take a while. So we try to encompass as many online business tools as we possibly can in this one account. So the main ones, let's say, are we have a website builder. We have an email manager, so you can do an email newsletter, email campaigns. We have a social media manager, so you can connect to all of your different social media accounts, post across the accounts, schedule posts for later, etc. We have a payment, invoicing, and proposals tool so that you can not only manually, quickly, and easily create invoices for your jobs, but you can also automatically create them with automation, which we also have inside of the tool. We have on top of that a course and membership area that you can create if you're the type of person who's creating a course you want to sell online, or maybe a community like a mastermind type group or a mentoring group. You can invite people into that side of the software as well. And we have a calendar tool. We have basically a lot of stuff going on inside of the account. And the point of this long list is not that every person who signs up should immediately start and want to use 100% of all the tools inside. The point is that we want people to have access to all of these tools, especially for myself. I can speak for myself. I think that as particularly freelancers from the creative branches, we're very like open-minded. We're interested in trying new things. We're like always looking for a cool new idea. And this is a problem I always had. It's like, oh man, wouldn't it, now that I think about it, a course would be really cool to do, but oh crap, look at this. Oh man, Kajabi so expensive, teachable. Where could I put it? How do I do that? Or like, oh, maybe I should have an email newsletter. Like, that's going to cost me more money. And like, is
Another
it going to
thing.
work?
Yeah.
Exactly. And so, rather than creating some new software with like tiered, like, oh, sign up at level A and you get 2 of the tools, and level B you get 5 of the tools. We just said, you know what, we want everything to be in one package. We want everyone to have access to everything, knowing full well that most people will not use every single tool available to them within the account. But should they consider it one day, or should they find themselves in need, it's just already there. And then the more they're able to use the tools within their account, the more valuable it becomes for them. And that's basically the idea. Is not that everyone looks at this laundry list of like the 15, 20 different online business tools and thinks, oh, geez, whoa, what do I what do I do with all of this? The idea is, if you're running a business, or you're self-employed, you're taking freelance contracts, that type of thing, you probably need an online presence. You're probably going to have a website. You probably have some social media that you maybe wish you could manage a bit more effectively. you may or may not want to email newsletter, but you probably need to send invoices. You may or may not want to have a course, but you might want to have a calendar for individual coaching sessions that you offer. So in this way, we're trying to give as much power to as many people as possible with as simple and as cheap of a software as we can possibly provide.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense, because I think when you are starting something new, you're confronted with this world of possibility as soon as you start Googling,
Yeah.
well, what if I wanted to do this? Could I make it do that? And, I could offer this, I could offer that. We actually have, compared to starting a business in any other decade, we have an absolutely mind-blowing array of things we could offer or do. But figuring out the priorities, what you need when, what you need to pay for, what you can get away with. And for me, as a not technical person, very much on the creative side and self-taught when it comes to everything digital, an awful lot of the challenges are making it all work together as well. I
Mhm.
spend a lot of time, I'm not somebody who can write my own APIs or automation, so I try to figure out, will this play nicely with that? How can I join all this stuff up and test it
Yeah,
and
yeah.
make sure somebody pays for your app in one thing, and then will they actually get the right links to go, and will this all work, or will it all just stop working one day and I will have no
Mhm.
idea why? And
Yeah,
that's
how
the kind of thing
dreadful
that
it
does my
was,
head in.
back when I was, freelancing, to start setting up, like, a couple different tools and then realizing, "Oh, great. I have email over on MailChimp. I have my website over on WordPress, but now I have to buy a third thing to connect them. I have to start paying for Zapier now." Like, this just doesn't seem fair.
And you have to figure out what to do in Zapier to
Yeah.
actually make this thing work. Then you have to test it, and then you can't figure out why your people from your list aren't being fed the right information at the time that you want them to, or anything. I mean, I think even on top of the money, that's been one of the hardest things for me as a creative, not technical person,
Mm.
is figuring all of that out. So presumably within full scope freelancer, everything just works in that respect.
Well, you definitely have a shortened learning curve because since all of the tools are in one place, they all already talk to each other.
Mm,
You don't need to go number one and get third-party tools just to connect the tools you already have. And on top of that, once, for example, like our website builder works in the same way as our form and survey builder, they're using the same like drag and drop element building blocks type of thing. So once you learn one, once you decide, oh, I'd love to do a survey for, I don't know, some clients from a membership thing I did recently. Once you go to the survey builder, it looks exactly the same. It's just drag and drop. All the icons are the
right.
same. You're not confused by a totally new interface. You don't have to learn a totally new system of thinking and constructing your surveys. That's totally different from your website builder, for example. So in that way, you can really reap the benefits of having everything kind of in this one space. So not only do you only have to, for example, set up your business information once, and then it gets auto-populated across all of the tools anytime you are using them. On top of that, everything's connected, everything works together automatically. So the idea being
That
that
makes sense.
hopefully someone besides myself sees some value in that and saves themselves the time and headache of having to realizing, oh man, now that I want to add this new software to my business, I'm going to have to go figure out how it works. I'm going to have to figure out how to connect it to my other things. I'm going to have to figure out whether it even does connect to my other things, because I've made the mistake before of signing on and already paying for software only to realize, oh wait, it doesn't do what I thought it was going to do. Oh no.
Yeah. Well, we do expect nowadays, don't we, that there'll be an API, or there'll be a Zap, or
Mm,
there'll be some way to join it all up. So yeah, if you go for what's the thing that best solves my immediate new problem, it is quite normal to sign up. Even if you're still on the free trial, you've spent hours and hours of your life
sure, yeah,
trying to
and
set this
the
thing up
time
and
you
learn
spent
it.
beforehand just researching what could possibly
Yes.
solve your problem in the first place.
All of that just conspires to pull you down that road of spending time, which, and as an entrepreneur, that time is your most valuable asset. And by the time then you figure out that it's actually going to be way more complicated to make these two things join up and talk to each other than anything else. I must admit, because, well, I write about technology for a living, so I've kind of got an excuse, but I am a complete sucker for the new shiny thing. And the latest, all these people have got my email address, and they write and tell me about the latest functionality that's added to this, or the people who made this app that you've heard of and hopefully come to love and trust, and now built things like the Basecamp guys launching their new email service a year or so ago. Like, wow, I could bring my whole life into this new email. And then I had to almost physically stop myself because it was so beautifully presented. They'd obviously figured everything out and solved all the problems. But then I was left with, hang on a minute, do I need another inbox? And am I going to spend the time setting this up? And I had to sort of almost snap myself away from the free trial of this thing. It just looked like
what self-restraint you've shown.
Well,
I'm
it
very
doesn't always
impressed.
happen. That's the trouble. I'm usually straight in. Well, I might get to write about it for somebody. I better know what's going on, I better get in there. So if only it was all in one box.
Yeah,
All
that's
ready
fair.
for me.
From the music industry, we have a very popular acronym called GAS. It's Gear Acquisition Syndrome. These people who you'll see just buying like 2 new guitars every week, and if I just get an 11th synthesizer, my music will finally be perfect, kind of
Right.
thing. And then they end up with just like boxes of stuff in their music room. And you go over and visit, like, oh wow, what is this? Oh yeah, that's right, I did buy that, didn't I? I haven't
Yeah.
actually hooked that up yet, but I'm definitely going to.
I can't remember
You
what I
just
bought that one for, but yeah.
So
Oh dear.
as a
Well,
professional musician, I often met like hobby musicians or amateur musicians who had like thousands and thousands of dollars worth of gear, way more than me. And at the end of the day, like, oh, so let me hear like some of your music. Oh, I haven't finished anything yet.
haven't actually
What?
made anything
You've
yet. I'm
invested
too
this
busy buying gear. Yeah.
and you've invested this much money and you don't even have like one song or something you can show me. Oh my goodness. Well, I mean, as long as they're having fun, I guess, but sometimes it does get to be a bit absurd. And
Yeah,
of course,
that's
I've been
it.
guilty of it occasionally as well.
It's that difference between a hobby and a business, I guess.
Yeah,
Whether it's
that's true.
software or shiny instruments or gadgets or anything else. And even if you want to keep spending money, you can. And even in podcasting, yes, I could upgrade a €100 mic to a €600 mic. Would it really make a difference to my life, the quality of the sound that my listeners get on a live stream like this, where people are listening to it on their phones? And
Yeah, it's been compressed about 5 times on its
yes.
way to their ears.
And it's
Luckily.
not music, it's just, this is just two of us talking here, and it's really it's certainly not going to be 6 times better, put it that way. And everything tops out, doesn't it? It's like, is a €100 pair of jeans, is a €1,000 pair of jeans going to be 10 times better? Probably not, and maybe €100 pair of jeans is going to be better than a €10 pair of jeans to a factor of 10. But then everything has a threshold, and you don't need to spend more, especially going back to software. If you're just starting out, if you're testing a new idea, it's a side hustle, perhaps outside of your main job or main business. You just want to get going with something for the minimum amount of investment of both time and money. I think that's why I was so excited to come across Full Scope Freelancer, because it seemed to me that was the perfect use case for it. Really was that catching that moment before you go and buy anything. Just get in there. I'm going to put the link up so people can do that.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, that's definitely, I would say, you've touched on another great topic, which is especially for people starting out, and especially if you're, testing the waters with something new. Maybe you don't even know that much about it yourself yet. Keeping costs low is going to be so crucial to you, because no matter how quick you think you can build something and start making money, you better expect it's going to take 4 or 5 times longer than you thought. it just takes so much time to get any traction with something new, especially if you're jumping into an industry that's already got a lot of stuff going on in it. And frankly, with the internet, what industry is like a bare field just waiting to be plowed by the first farmer to lay eyes on it? Like, people are
And if it
already
is, there's probably some problem
everywhere.
with it that you don't
Yeah,
haven't
it's
figured
like
out anyway.
you have
It's
either
fascinating.
touched on the opportunity of a lifetime, or you maybe gotten lost and ended up in the salted earth field that will never bear any crops. But yeah, I think that's something that is extremely important for people, is to be wise with the money they're spending at the beginning. If obviously every all the time, but especially at the beginning, the more money you start to shell out, the faster you start to get really stressed about how much money you're shelling out, and how, like, oh crap, I really need to start, why I need to make money today. What's going on? Like, I'm paying all this money for my, I don't know, my business license and my tools, and I already hired a tax advisor because I'm so sure I'm going to be making money and all this other stuff. And then 6 months later, you're like still crickets, and thinking, uh-oh, I've spent quite a bit and I've not yet made it back. And I think a lot of people, it's it's maybe getting better with all of the content and educational opportunities for people to learn how to freelance, to start their own business, to get remote work. It's better and better, but there's still a risk tolerance, that an appetite for a certain amount of risk that you have to bring to the table. And
Yeah.
especially if this is like a totally new venture for you. So, like, for me, starting this company was new for me, but I've also only ever really freelanced. So I've only ever really gone out and sold myself, gone out and like found my customers. So I'm at least bringing some skills that are recyclable to the table. But someone who's just starting out, you will have so much to learn. It will take so long to do. And I don't say that to discourage, but just to really to make sure people are realistic, and that they don't just start sign up for 900, 1,000 euros worth of stuff that's a recurring monthly payment, because they just think like, in 30 or 60 days I'm already going to be crushing it with all my new customers, and it's going to go so well for me. And maybe you might want to
It's
put the
such
foot on
good
the
advice.
brake a little bit there.
Yeah, you have to try and minimize every cost that you can in that startup phase, just to de-risk it and give yourself a bit more time. Because I think, even those of us who consider ourselves serial entrepreneurs who've launched things before,
Hmm.
you still have to go into it with that self-belief. Otherwise, what, you'd go get a job or something. But it's like the reason people have more than one baby. You managed to convince yourself that it's really all going to be different this time anyway. The pain will not be as bad as it was. Something in your mind enables you to suppress that memory.
what
Otherwise,
a
we
what a
would never have
metaphor.
multi-parent, multi-child households, and
Mm.
we are serial entrepreneurs, because you'd never be able to go around again if you truly
I love
remembered.
the metaphor. I don't know
Yeah,
if
I don't know.
I
It just
forget
came to
who
me.
said this joke, but as a comedian, really great joke. He said, "So, you know, if you have one child and you're thinking about having another, here's how you can think about it. Imagine you're drowning, and then someone hands you a baby."
Mm. Would you like another one?
It's like, "You look like you're doing well. How about a baby?"
Yeah. Yes, and it can be a lot like that, launching a side hustle. Let's be honest.
Yeah,
Um,
particularly if you are starting, if you're starting something on the side from your full-time or part-time job, and from the get-go, you don't have 40 hours a week to dedicate to that. You've got a handful of hours a week. And so to start, just spending money, willy-nilly is gonna cut into, again, that stress, the feeling of thinking like, oh boy, this is risky. Oh boy, I'm
yeah,
spending all my paycheck here. Oh boy, is it gonna work out the way I think? And you really need to give yourself a good amount of runway, so that you can make sure that your plane takes off uh,
Yeah,
it
100%.
doesn't just scoot off the edge and crash into a building.
Yeah, and it's interesting because obviously when it's you as a solopreneur or a really tiny team, you've always got one constraint or another, because if you're launching it on the side when you're working full time, or even part time, then you've got limited time. If you decide to go all in, or life circumstances mean that you've suddenly got time on your hands to launch your thing and go freelance, then you're likely to have, the constraint is the money. And one or the other is going to be in finite supply, because we're not in this world that we were sort of pre-pandemic, with venture capitalists come along and say, we'll fund you for until you're profitable.
Mhm.
Just we'll keep throwing series A, B, C, and that's not the world of freelancers today. You're
Yeah,
not going to get
exactly.
somebody who says, just get users, we don't care about profit. Whoever funds you today to do anything, if you're not bootstrapping it yourself, which most of us are, if you're getting a loan from a bank or from anybody else, they're going to want to see return on that sooner rather than later. They're not just going to give you infinite runway to keep growing and scaling and not worry about the profit till later. I think those days are gone in business. I don't know
Um,
if you agree, but that
and
was a
it
weird
might
time.
I think, yeah, that's maybe something that'll be cyclical. It might come back later, but I think the appetite for that has run out for the time being.
Yeah.
People are definitely a little more careful with their cash these days.
Yeah, I think, yes, even, they could get more interest sticking it in a bank rather than backing some random startup that may or may not make them money. I don't know. I think,
Another AI startup.
yes, yeah, I just put AI in the name, then you might get the funding, the
Ah,
same way it
dang.
worked with blockchain before.
No
So
wonder
just,
nobody funded me.
yeah.
The full scope
Yeah.
AI.
Remote work AI Europe. Yeah, maybe we should rebrand, or
Mhm,
maybe we'll just keep going, because we know that we're filling a need here, both
mhm.
of us, in terms of what we're offering. We're building exciting things for the future because we believe in the solopreneur micro business economy, and we know that we can deliver what people need, whether it's community on our side or the actual physical software tools on your side to help people build their thing. So, what's coming, Ben? What's going to be new in Full Scope Freelancer? What are you working on
Oh
now?
gosh, well, you just mentioned before we went live how uh, we are rolling out updates all the time. Every
Mm,
Monday, I usually have 4 or 5 noteworthy things to send out to our customers so that they know what's happening. So I would say the biggest thing is that we have all of these features. We've got the website builder, email campaign, social media, all this stuff, and s- a, a uh, point that people bring up that is totally fair is like, well, you have a website builder, but can it compete with like WordPress? And the fair and honest answer is like, well, no, not 100%. I mean, WordPress is a long, and they've established themselves. They've got incredibly powerful tools. They have years and years of many developers being able to add their own tools, so you can buy all this stuff in a store. So no, it's not WordPress. That's for sure. But on the other hand, you can still quickly and easily build a totally professional and nice looking website with it. And in the background, we're always improving things. So anything that our customers bring up as something they wish they could have, or something where they say, this, in order to be more competitive with Calendly, I wish your calendar would do XYZ. And so we add that to the list, and we try to roll out as many stable updates as we can all the time. So it's actually so quick that sometimes I'm not even on top of it. For example, just a little while ago, I created a video for our YouTube page showing people how to kind of do a little workaround to customize their calendars, because we didn't have too many possibilities for people to customize it with like colors and things like this. And then already this week, we've just rolled out a complete update that nullifies that entire video. So I can go delete it, and I'll make a new one showing off the new branding possibilities with the calendar customization. So things like
excellent.
that
Workaround no
are
longer
always
needed.
coming. Exactly. So yeah, uh, if you're worried that it won't be able to keep up with the competition, so to speak, then I would suggest going in and taking a look first, and taking advantage of the free trial, which through Maya's link here down below will get you a 30-day, so full month free trial. You can have plenty of time to check in on everything. You can also book a call with myself while you're doing that, and we can look at what your business needs together and chat about how you can set up certain things or what might be valuable to you in your account.
Oh,
So we
that's an
try to do as
amazing
much
bonus.
onboarding and helping as
Yeah.
possible, because we do understand, it's a lot at once, and if
Yeah.
you're
Well, the
you're
more
not.
you add to it, the
Mhm,
more possibilities there are in there, but I suppose potentially the
mhm,
more overwhelming it might be when somebody first looks at that menu of all the different options in there. So I think the idea of an onboarding call within that free trial is really unusual, and that's a really fantastic bonus to give people a chance to figure out their own roadmap through it. Well, first I need
mhm,
the website, and then I need to hook up this, and if you can help steer people through that, then I think certainly within 30 days you'd be up and away and
for sure.
basically ready to get started with whatever your minimum viable hustle is going to be. I think
I like that term.
this is what you need behind you. Yeah. Well, just I like that term as well, which is why it's one of the things we've chosen for our upcoming webinar next week. I'm just going to switch the banner. So I hope you've made a note of Full Scope Freelancer / Remote Work Europe. Don't worry, it's in the comments as well. And you'll find that everywhere you need to go. So we have our webinar coming up next week, which is going to be, it was one of the questions that we get asked all the time. It comes up when we did a survey recently, what help you want from us more than anything else is figuring out what you're going to do, what you're going to launch, what your
Mm,
next dabble is going to be. Even if you've been an employee all your life and you realize it's just not giving you the lifestyle and the flexibility that you want any longer, you want to start moving along that spectrum from the full-time employee who does what they're told and works where they're told towards that liberated. You might never have to go to the far end and be an entrepreneur with no safety net at the far end of it. But if we can help people to start shifting along that spectrum, you can adopt a set of tools like Full Scope Freelancer, which will do everything you need, but you need that idea to put in behind it, figure out what you're going to build when you get on that free call with Ben and his team to start setting stuff up in there. What's it going to be? What are you going to offer to the world? What unique combination of skills and experience and ideas can you put on the table there just to test it out? And this is what we've been talking about today, is how to de-risk that in terms of your
mhm.
time, in terms of your money, in terms of your presence. This is what my big dream is with Remote Work Europe, really, is to help as many people as possible do that as safely as possible, to experiment, to figure out their thing. And then as you move along, you will start to find that you can build what you need. If you need to integrate more stuff with Full Scope Freelancer, if you ever come to the edge of that menu and
Jeez.
need to go
No,
outside it, then talk to Ben. He'll probably build it for you anyway.
no one's tapped out yet, but I'm sure one day there's
So
always that ultimate power user, one in a million person who's just like, I've done everything, and I feel it's a little
there's a
lacking, and
challenge
like,
for you today, folks. Be the take it.
yeah, I'm throwing down the gauntlet.
Absolutely. See if you can get outside that. And it could be then that you have to start taking more risk in terms of your own. Maybe you go part-time with your full-time job. Maybe you start to adopt a more portfolio approach to your life. But this is where it gets really exciting. And then you can start to make the choices of who you work with, where you live, which is really ultimately what Remote Work Europe is all about, of course, is helping people achieve that freedom. So I think for me, I wanted to get Ben on here today because I really see Full Scope Freelancer as an essential part of that toolkit. We talk a lot about the ideas and the abstract. In the webinar next week, we'll be talking more about the personal, the soft skills and the tactics.
Mhm.
And that's all very well, but to make that tangible, to make that something that you can actually offer and start to maybe actually earn a bit of money and build your authority, and then you need the platform as well. So we can do a lot with free social media, but you ultimately need a home and a hub, somewhere to base it all,
Yeah.
which you can operate purely from your laptop. So a Full Scope Freelancer, guys. This
And
is what you need to
I
do.
quite like you said a nice keyword that I think I'm gonna have to work into our marketing a little more as well, which is the idea of safety. Because,
Mm,
especially when you're getting started, the more costs you have, the less safe you are,
yeah.
because you're, again, just increasing the amount of risk you're taking and shortening that runway, that amount of time you have to build out your product or your service or whatever it might be. And so, if you want to, if you feel like playing it safe, then you want to minimize your costs, minimize your risk so that you can spend a healthy amount of time really building and concentrating on improving your offering, finding your customers. And yeah, if you just load yourself up with a bunch of heavy software subscriptions right from the get-go, then you're gonna, yeah, start to feel the pain of that sooner rather than later, and then it can start to get quite stressful. And starting your own business, starting your own thing is stressful enough as it is. So there's really no need to
Right.
add any more on top.
Yeah, I mean, we will continue here at Remote Work Europe to look for these ways to de-risk whatever you want to do, whether
Mhm.
that's finding affordable places to stay, helping to set up your business entity through Estonian e-residency or through one of our EOR partners, just all these things that help to give you more space and time to do your thing. So you're not burning money, you're not committing yourself. I really am a huge believer in that way of growing in a
Mhm.
bootstrapped way. And then ultimately, when you achieve success, it's all yours to keep. You're not beholden
Sure.
to a funder, to a partner, to paying back the bank or whomever. It really is worth it. It really is worth taking that risk yourself, maximizing your headspace, your time, and your investment to figure it out what your customers need, and then iterate what you've got to offer towards that so that you serve that need. So it really is
Mhm.
the most exciting way to get yourself going. And I really hope we're going to see some of you in the webinar next week. And I'm sure that Ben is going to see you all signing up for a free trial of Full Scope Freelancer. So we'll both see you on the inside, I hope. Thank you very much, everybody, for joining us today, for having a listen to this. If you've got questions, I do know that the stream hasn't gone live in some of the groups in the way that we were hoping for. I know we've got some people watching live in different places. So do ask your questions there. Tag me or Ben in there just so that we know where we've appeared.
Mhm.
And we'll make sure that we respond to questions as best we can, even though we haven't been able to do them as well live in the session, thanks to the streaming issues that we've had today. So we appreciate everybody listening and watching and bearing with us. Ben, thanks so much for joining us here in Remote Work Europe.
It was a pleasure. Let's do it again sometime.